Hi, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I am Steve Smith. I wasn't going to do a video on this subject because I don't think I'm very good at it. Or at least, well, you only kind of get one shot at it, and I don't think I was good at it when I did it. It worked out okay, but, I would not suggest the way that you do it the way I did it. Um, but I'm reading a book that talks about what I think is an excellent way to do it, to get your spouse on board and to get your family on board with preparedness. How this came about is that, and I'll say right now, well, I'll wait for that. No, I won't. What I read it in was in Joe Fox's book, right here, Survivalist Family, uh, prepared Americans for a strong America. I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on, so I stumbled on that. But I'll tell you how this came about. Um, Sometime back, and I forget exactly the order of things, but um, somehow Joe got onto my book, my first book, The Reversion, and said something very nice about it. Mentioned it in his videos, and 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 I that made me thank him, and we exchanged a few uh, comments and emails, and I sent him because he had done, I appreciated his talking about it, so I sent him the third and the fourth. The first was the reversion, the second is the revival, and then the renewal. And I think he's in the process of reading those now. Well, he sent me his book, which is the one that I just showed you, and so I got it in the mail yesterday, and didn't have a chance to get started on it quite yet. But it snowed last night, and I'm waiting for the sun to melt some of the snow off this roof I have to go up on here in a little bit. So I started reading it, and I'm only about, I don't know, 35 pages into it, um, and already I would suggest that you buy the book, because this one section about getting your family on board, I think, is worth the price of the book. And I'm going to do a review on the whole thing when I get done with it. Um, but the thing that I just got done reading about getting your spouse or your family on board, it was so good and it's so important that I just wanted to sit down and make this. Now, first off, I should tell you how I did it wrong. Uh, I tend to be kind of an autocratic person. It's not that I mean to be. It's just the way that I am. It's my life. I didn't get married till I was 49 years old. I've pretty much always been the boss of my existence. I've had a lot of experiences, and so I have some pretty strong opinions on things. And so and I owned my own businesses, and so I was, pretty much my life was about me calling the shots. Um, and so I came at it uh, not in a cooperative way with my wife or my kids, but more of just well, I'm going to do this. And as I've said, I've always had to, been involved and had a preparedness mindset. But as far as getting formally, really pushing it, um, I just started doing it, and whether they understood it or not, yeah, well, I was going to do it. And it has worked out okay, but it would have worked out better if I'd read this chapter in Joe's book first, because Joe is the way that he's put this, my wife is over there nodding her head. As a matter of fact, I read this section to her that I won't read this verbatim out of Joe's book, but I read it to her earlier, and I admit it, it's a better way, and she's nodding, nodding, nodding. Well, I realize that the reason that now, well, there's a couple of differences. First off, I was in my late 40s by the time my finally met the woman I wanted to marry, and she's one of the toughest people that I've ever met, and one of the most competent. And there's no quit in her. Uh, but she's no, that got a smile at her. But that's the truth. Um, so it's not like she's some kind of weakling that doesn't like tough times. She's tough as a railroad spike. But the way that first I'll tell you how Joe did it, and I understand how why Joe's good at this. Joe was Special Forces, Army Special Forces, which is different than the others, and there's and one of the things that they are particularly good at. Now I'm speaking as an outsider. I was not in the military. I had the good fortune to work with some of these units, and I realized that most of my friends who were in the military or former military uh, turns out for some reason to have been Army SF, and they're just exceptional people, and that's probably why I'm a hard judge on folks, and it doesn't take much for me to say, well, that guy's not for me. But and not to disparage the other branches. I've had a lot of students that went SEALs and recon and things like that after 9/11. But there's that added element in Army SF that I've seen, and I realize that what it is that they are not only are they exceptional at direct action, but they are teachers. They are leaders and teachers.